Good morning, everybody. It is the 7th of April, 2026, and this is Rugby Chat for Tuesday that we have a look at what has been around the world of rugby and in New Zealand and Europe and in America and what's upcoming, and hopefully have a few giggles on the way. Unsure if the boys are all going to show up or not, but otherwise I'll just get on with the show. And I'm sure that even people down there at Franz Joseph, Foursquare, they'll be getting this coverage, listening. So get on down there and on your horse or on the back of your sheep, because you can't drive, of course. And if they can pick it up down there, I'm sure the astronauts can pick it up from the other side of the moon. How about that for being on target and on topical? But otherwise, cheers again to Josh and the team down there for sponsoring our show. So, where are we at? Well, it all started last weekend, didn't it? And basically, quiet weekend, wasn't it? With the Crusaders celebrating and signing off in style, 100 wins at Apollo Project Stadium, and that was well, it was actually, you know, what everyone thought it was going to be, and it was a massive victory there and a great way to celebrate Cody Taylor's 150th game for the Crusaders as well. That we had the Chiefs too. They bounced back against the hapless Waratahs, who thought they were back on a roll after their win against the Brumbies the prior week, winning 42-14 in Hamilton. But then the result that really just threw a lot of people, and that was the Reds against the Western Force. Now, I did pick the Reds, but I'll give a little proviso here. I did mention last week that don't discount the Force, remembering that they won there last year against the Reds. So, yeah, maybe I should have just stuck with my guns and gone with the Force, but I did not expect a score of 42-19. Our team from Australia, the Reds, well, at the moment, they're all beating everyone, aren't they? The Waratahs beat the Brumbies. Now the Force are beating the Reds. It's hard to actually work out where it's all sort of heading. So if we have a look at that table then, of course, and the great thing is there, the mighty Hurricanes and Blues, they didn't have they had the bye, of course, last week, and but they still sit pretty on top of the table. The Chiefs move up into third place on 22 points, replacing the Brumbies, who drop a place. First time out of the top three for them. The Crusaders, the Crusaders, aren't they scary when you see that they're climbing the table? And the Reds have slipped down to sixth place. And the slippery Waratahs, well, they are now down to seventh. So Highlanders, well, they still hold there on the eighth place there. The Western Force, at least they climb a place from 10th to 9th, and the Drua drop. And of course, Moana Pacifica also had the bye. But it's an interesting table, because everyone now is back into it, aren't they? Back into doing the business end of the round. So we've got round 9 coming up, and if I have a quick look at those games, they'll be scrolling along the bottom. But what we will do is we will have a look at the fantasy side of things for those that are playing the fantasy. Well, I buggered up. I've gone from a high to a low. Why? Because I forgot to change Noah Hotham. I forgot to change Ethan Blackadder. So I was basically shot from the start, because I lost 2 players. Made up ground later in the other 2 games, but I'll be chasing my my sort of backside all the way. Luckily, I did have Donaldson there. But their team of the week, of course, was Norris, Cody Taylor and George Bauer. Molina, I had him, so he helped me out a little bit. Shelfoon there in the locks. Bryle, Kinakavata and Samu at the backs. And they reckon their scrum half of the week was Fines Leawissa. Donaldson, again, that's a guy I had. Whaianuku, he's finally hit some form. Josh Fluke there for the Reds. Yeah, player of the week, and you got beaten 42. This is where this whole competition is a bit weird. Fihaki, he scored lots of points due to him doing all the kicking. Sevu Reece increased his try-scoring record, and Taumawhalaau, he finally got on the board, scoring his maiden Super Rugby tries. Yeah. But what I did want to talk about today is all time. So at the moment, Super Rugby are looking for their greatest 15 over the last 30 years. So if you want to, in the comments, tell us who you reckon is the best halfback we've seen in 30 years of Super Rugby. I mean, their nominations here have come out, and we've got TJ Perenara, George Gregan, Will Guinea, Ian Pryor, Brad Weber, Afisa Tanu'u, Justin Marshall, Chris Whitaker, Jonathan Atamatane, Pene Matawalu, Ferry Dupree as a wild card from the Bulls, and Aaron Smith. So, who would you pick? I would have to probably say Aaron Smith. I think it will be between Aaron Smith and George Gregan, TJ Perenara, maybe. But I think the top two there will probably be George Gregan or Aaron Smith. Your thoughts? I don't know. It's an interesting one. What's your thoughts? Tell me, people. Come on. I know you're watching. I'll just have a quick cup of tea. Because what we can do is I'll just leave that there while you all have a think about it. And what we can do is we can talk about the games coming up this weekend. But, of course, also what we're going to look at later in the show is what's coming up. But we've also got international results. And don't forget, it's Hong Kong 7th weekend coming up this weekend, people. But, okay, no, I've waited long enough, so I'll just carry on. I was just waiting for Mike. He will be here in a second. But, yes. So what we'll do there is while we just await and get Mike's thoughts, week 2 of the Major League Rugby kicked off, and Seattle Seahawks, Seawolves, thinking of the NFL there, they had a big win over Old Glory from Washington, 33-16. Anthem, after their maiden test win after 3 years of trying, went down at home to Chicago by 33-19. And California, who got beaten by Anthem, destroyed New England Free Jacks by 43 points to 5. Then we have got also the, the European Cup happening. If you haven't been watching that, that's been awesome. Bath got up over Saracens 31-22 in the quarterfinals. Round of 16, they call it. Toulon snuck in 28-27 over the Stormers, who should be back in Super Rugby as far as I'm concerned. Glasgow beat the Blue Bulls 25-21. And then Toulouse, they beat Bristol by 59-26. The only South African team, no South African team there really is there, because the Sharks, it's not the Sharks, it is the Sail Sharks, got up over Harlequins by 26 points to 17. And then if you saw the match at Leinster-Edinburgh, where Leinster got up by 49-31, great try by Rico Ioane, some young fella out of New Zealand, scored a screamer. So check that out on the socials. And Bordeaux got up over Leicester. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because we are still talking about Super Rugby. Here are the quarterfinals for the European Cup. The competition that South Africa said, we're leaving to go and play in because we will be better. So we've got Bath going to be taking on Northampton, Glasgow taking on Toulon, Leinster taking on Sale, and Bordeaux taking on Toulouse. So, if that is the case, where are all the South African teams? I know. Did South Africa make a mistake? And there's only one person I can ask about that. Good morning, Mike.
Morning.
So I'm just mentioning, we can go back and have a look at some of these results and get your thoughts on the Super Rugby, but I thought it was appropriate to show what's happening in Europe, because that's where South Africa left too. Here are the quarterfinal lineup for the European Cup. Two South African teams made the round of 16, and they both got beaten. So is that not saying they made a bad move?
Interesting move. Yeah, right.
Would Super Rugby be better without them? Because not only is that competition on, because you've also got the Challenge Cup for the also-rans, right? And in this round 5 matches, you've got a couple of teams there from Italy. These are teams that just failed to qualify. So if you're a South African team, you could still qualify, right? So you got Benetton there, you got Zebra, who always sort of are the easy beats. Yeah, Zebra beat a very strong French team in Pau by 31-15. But then if we go to the quarterfinals here, you got Montpellier taking on Connacht. You got Zebra taking on Dragons from Wales. You got Benetton from Italy taking on Exeter, and Ulster taking on Stade Rochelle, who won the European Cup a couple of years ago. So the question there I have is, with Super Rugby, it is a question that has to be asked. Do we want back the South African teams back in Super Rugby? Do you think the South Africans would still want to come back to Super Rugby with their not so great performance in Europe?
Well, this is going back when the Natal Sharks and all that were playing. It was quite enjoyable when we seen players come through there like Hughes Van der Westsides and Henry Honeyball that went on to play for South Africa, and and it adds a bit of spice to the competition. I think when the Argentinian team were in the Super Rugby, it made things quite interesting as well.
I know, it's absolutely crazy. So, as I said, I already started off by doing the results. We were both right with the Crusaders. We were both right with the Chiefs. But we were so wrong with the Western Force. We did say last week, don't write them off because they had won there last year, right? Did you see that result coming? I don't think anybody saw it.
No, I didn't. But we all know that the Western Force are capable on their day, and they've shown it. And it's probably a vital win as they scramble to try and save their season.
Yeah, well, I know. And just a quick shout out to our viewer Clarence. Good morning to you too. Good morning, Clarence. And he has gone Sharks, Stormers, Bulls, Cheetahs. Yeah. Okay, what about Transvaal? Just saying. But yeah, the Western Force, though, I mean, they did turn it on. Remembering the Reds are coached by Les Kiss, right? The incumbent or the upcoming Wallabies coach. But I don't know. But this week we've got, I'll just go to the table, because then we can just read it through. So this week we've got the Highlanders taking on the Brumbies down there in Dunedin. Both teams, of course, had the bye. How do you think that's going to go?
Well, I'm hoping the Highlanders can win it, but it's going to be a tough battle. The Brumbies, they're a pretty good travelling team and a home team, but the Highlanders in front of their faithful down at Forsyth Bar. But yeah, the Highlanders probably need to win it. It's probably a must-win for them.
Yeah, it definitely is, considering they're sitting there in the 9th position. I mean, I did stuff up the bloody show by myself last week. You see what happens when you don't keep me on track? I was saying, oh, if the Chiefs win and all that, they'll go top of it. I just completely forgot that the Hurricanes and Blues were miles ahead. So apologies for putting everyone wrong last week. But the Highlanders, a win there, I mean, that over the Brumbies could get them up, but they'll need a bonus point. And they'll still be sitting behind the Brumbies. So, and with the Crusaders and the Reds and the Waratahs and all that, you know, they may win, but they could still be where they're at. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an interesting table at the moment, isn't it? Yeah. Obviously, who's on top? Yeah. Hurricanes, are they?
Yeah, well, I've got one guy just phoning me. He should be watching the show.
Captain Hurricane.
No, it wasn't Captain Hurricane. It was Steve White from Club Rugby. So anyway, okay, so I'm just going to stick with the Kiwis, and I'm going to say the Highlanders by 7. But we'll find out what the teams are like, because they do have injuries, and that's what we'll talk about on Thursday. But just as a quick overview, I'm going to say Highlanders by 7 points.
Yeah, I'll go Highlanders by 6.
It's going to be, so it could be a close one. And then on Saturday, we kick off it's a home game for Moana Pacifica, but it is being played at Rotorua International Stadium. This was the game that was meant to be played, I believe, in Tonga, but it's now being played in Rotorua. The Chiefs, they're just going to go mental, aren't they, over Moana? I'm sorry to say.
Yeah. Well, the Chiefs obviously had a dominant one last week, last Saturday. But I'm expecting the Chiefs to win by 30 plus.
Yeah, I'm expecting that too. Clarence is also bucking the trend on us today. He's saying Brumbies by 5, and just quickly bring back the Sunwolves. Well, I agree with him. They should have a team from Japan in Super Rugby. This having only 11 teams in the comp is just ridiculous. But then again, is there any going? What happens if all the petrol runs out? Keep that in the back of your mind, because there's only so much petrol that is for aeroplanes. But in saying that, back to Churchill Park, the Western Force take on Fijian Drua for 4:30 New Zealand time over there in Fiji. Now, what gets me is that every day it says rain or thunder and lightning for Fiji on the weather. I wouldn't be surprised to see rain or thunder and lightning again, because it's just like they've forgotten to either remove that graphic off the weather or it is. But then when you get to watch the games, it seems to be squally, I suppose is the word, isn't it? I mean, Churchill Park has bounced back from their bit of a disaster they had a month ago now with the Hurricanes game. But if it is raining as it has been, it will still be wet underfoot. I'm going for the Drua to upset the Force here.
Yeah, so am I. I'm going to pick the Drua by 6. I'm not too sure how the Western Force are going to handle it, but the Drua have beaten them at home before. I've actually watched that game. It was a couple of years ago now, and it was wet that day as well, like wet. I'm going Drua by 6.
Yeah, well, I'm actually going to go to Drua by 13 plus. Why? Because they're back home. They've got the fresh carver. They can just do what they like. They'll be used to the weather. And I think the Western Force will be on such a buzz after beating Queensland that they'll think they're invincible and do stupid stuff. There you go. That's my take on it. And then, of course, there's only one game I'm watching all weekend that I'm just going to pull up the little stool and sit 3 inches from the television, even though the stadium's only 5 minutes from my house. but it's cheaper for me to drink at home than drink at the stadium. And that is top of the table clash. The Hurricanes taking on the Evil Empire. Both teams fresh off a bye. Both teams have had a great week off. What's his name? Duplessis Karifi has got a nice new deck that he spent Easter on. Oh, by the way, happy Easter, everybody. Hope you had an enjoyable weekend. I know you did. Bloody rubbing shoulders with rugby royalty.
Yeah, we'll get to that a bit later. We'll
get back to that later. But actually, I should have grabbed that photo. Actually, I still might.
No.
Why not?
No. The thing, no.
Okay, well, yeah. Okay. You didn't have any clothes. You didn't have any clothes on.
Those are the good photos.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily you haven't sent me the ones with no clothes on yet. But Clarence is quickly saying Drua by 10, Moana by 10. Wow. Okay. I might have to throw a fiver on Clarence if he's right. And the Hurricanes by 12. So at home, the weather is meant to be okay on Saturday here in Wellington. But it's going to be a battle royal. But the Hurricanes and Blues are both flying. But the Hurricanes nullify the Blues' spoiling tactics, I suppose you could say, because you can guarantee that there will be, how can I put it, 30 penalties inside the Blues' 5 metre, 10 metre area. Every time the Hurricanes will be on attack, it'll be penalty. Nothing happens. Someone might get a yellow card, but then as soon as the Hurricanes do it, we'll get a penalty try against us. We'll get a yellow card. But because of something, even though it's not meant to happen like that anymore. Blah, 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 blah. That's just me being a grumpy old bastard.
Oh, it's the Battle of the Titans, isn't it? Top of the round games, probably the game of the round too, to be fair. Discipline's going to be key. They can't give away any silly penalties. We know how far Geordie Barrett can kick. We know how far Bowden Barrett can kick. Blues backline's electric. Hurricane is tight 8, 9, 10. It's going to be really exciting. I think it's going to be close. I think there's going to be 6 points in it. I'm going to go Blues by 6.
Okay, so now I'm just going to kick you out. I'm going to say, and I say this all the time, Hurricanes by 20, and they're going to kick their ass. But that's just me. That's my passion.
You'd have to probably say Hurricanes will be firm favourites to win. But the Blues are going not too bad this year.
Yeah, well, funny you should say that about firm favourites. I don't know if you saw on my Facebook feed the horse race in England last weekend. Jumps race. A horse won it, paying 300 to 1. How crazy! So hopefully that's what the Blues are paying, and everyone will jump on it and then lose all their money. But Clarence, you're back in my good books by picking the Hurricanes by 12. And then, of course, we rounded out on Saturday night, 9:30 New Zealand time. The Reds are going to try to bounce back against the Crusaders, who are just gathering momentum, aren't they?
Where's that game being played? Oh, the overall desert. Oh, okay. The Crusaders are starting to peak at the right time. Obviously, they had their win last week at their last game at Apollo Projects. As long as they get over there all right and acclimatise and nothing goes wrong, they should win it. But I'm going to pick the Reds by 3.
Okay, well, I'm going to say the Crusaders because let's just keep it sort of you, me sort of thing. I just think they will because you did mention, they're on the road now. Next week in a fortnight, they're away to Perth So they'll be in Australia for a couple of weeks by the time they get to Perth. And then, of course, the Super Round is on Anzac weekend when they get to play their first match, which will be against the Waratahs at the new Takaha Stadium on Friday, April the 24th. Apparently, it's almost a sellout. So, well, or it is sold out, one of the three. So, yeah, so that's, I'll just take that. And Clarence is saying, here we go. Whoever scores first try will win the match, and home advantage Reds by 10. So Clarence is agreeing with you today, all except for, of course, that Moana situation. But as I said, we've had a look at all of those. I'll just come through to there. That will be for my next thing. Yeah, so club rugby all began around New Zealand this week. I don't have any graphics, unfortunately, but we do know that it's all kicking off and it's all happening. Here in Wellington, my Johnsonville Hawks went down 48-33 or something like that for their opening game. But it's quite exciting already. Big scores. Petone beat last year's winners, Tala, I think it was, hugely. So that's a big up for the Petone club. But tell us about your meeting people at the Southbridge anniversary weekend, because I see, oops, what happened then? What happened? Ed, I don't know what happened then.
Might have been me.
Oh, it might have been. Because you caught up with young Donny Bell.
Yeah, caught up with Donny on the Thursday. He come down and we went out to Rakaira and watched the Southern boys take on Rakaira under lights. We drew that game 24-all, so that was pretty cool. And then on the Saturday, I made the trek up to Southbridge for their 150th Jubilee and watched the Division 1 side absolutely throttle Darfield, which was a great game of rugby, and caught up with Donny and a couple of other Southbridge fellas, and DC was lurking around, so the young fella got a photo with him, which was pretty cool. So, yeah, no, it was a great day. Heaps of people there. Yep.
So he didn't put the boots on for the special game?
No, he put the boots on the Sunday with his dad, Nev. He's another Southbridge legend. They both played in the Golden Oldies game on the Sunday. Probably a bit too much for him to put the boots back on in the Division 1 side anyway, but I think his number 10 spot's pretty much taken now. So, but yeah, no, it was a great game of rugby. It was full on. It was very fast paced, and I think Southbridge will be there at the point end of the season. They got some electric backs. I caught up with TK, the Mid Canterbury coach. He took his obviously he lives up Staveley down here, but so he just took his caravan and parked his caravan up there for 3 days, and yeah, so he didn't have to drive anywhere, which is pretty cool. So,
Well, I'm just quickly trying to bring up here because I can't see myself on the screen because I've got another screen open. But the West Coast Buller Jubilee Trophy kicks off this weekend, and we've got to give a quick shout out to Kobe Brownlee, who now resides with the Tasman Rugby Union, but out of the Buller, who got selected for the New Zealand Under-20 squad, which is great news for all Heartland aspirants, all the young guys playing Heartland rugby. But I'm just quickly trying to get to what these games are this weekend, because I've got it here and we haven't posted it yet. So, but it all kicks off this weekend at 2:30 at Patterson Park with Westport taking on Kiwi. Blaketown will be taking on White Star at McLean Park. Greymouth Marist will be taking on South Westland. Yeah, I hope a bomb drops on those two teams. And Grey Valley Reefton combined will be playing Wests out there at Reefton Racecourse. So that all kicks off this weekend, and it goes right through 7 rounds for the Jubilee Trophy through to the May the 23rd, with the final being the top 2 teams, first versus second. So whoever finishes first will get the hosting rights. So the final will be either in Westport or Greymouth. So Keep an eye out for the socials. We'll have that full draw up on the Buller Rugby page and Might of Red and White, because that's all. I mean, club rugby at the end of the day, I mean, I literally now have got a lot more time on my hands to do other stuff and other projects. Means I will be able to get to a lot more club rugby games this year than I have in previous seasons. But and of course, I was busy last Saturday with Easter and stuff. And I know you were at Southbridge and you were at the game on Friday night. Have you noticed any increase in the crowds watching club rugby down south?
Yeah, well, I was actually surprised at the crowd at Rakaya on Thursday night for the game under light. I thought a lot of people might have gone away, but there was a really good crowd down there. Matthew Winter was there, the Mid-Canterbury Hammers coach. He was there having a look. Southbridge, Southbridge was just a three-day bender, I guess, for a lot of people. But yeah, they had on the Saturday they had JAB. They had a few JAB games. They had the Division 2 game and then the Division 1 game, and a really big crowd, and they stuck around for the whole day, which was pretty cool. And I didn't go back up on the Sunday, but from all reports, there was a good crowd there for the Golden Oldies anyway. But you're always going to get a good crowd when you've got legends running around like Dan Carter and his dad. So yeah, no, it's good, and obviously this weekend we're back into it on the Saturday. So yeah, no, it's good to see crowds out and about. And obviously going afterwards and have a beer and a feed or whatever. But yeah, no, it's great. Yep.
Yeah, well, funny you should say that, because Nakawar from the Buller Union, who are in hiatus at the moment, their junior rugby is still going, but they just had their 125th anniversary last weekend with the good old Golden Oldies, with Andrew Duncan even playing, who's now with New Zealand Cricket. But they had all the old oldies from the past of Buller Rugby playing a Golden Oldies game, and that, by all reports, was a raving success, even to the point they had their own Nakawar beer cans with celebrating their thing, and they're trying to see if someone can actually produce them. Well,
that reminds me. I actually, because Southbridge got their own 150th bottles made. I'm not too sure whether it was Spates or Spates Summit, but they were selling them over the barrel. I actually forgot to get one. I was intending to get one, but that's pretty cool that they can, Spates can come out and support them in that way and make a one-off run of however many they had. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
No, I saw that, them ripping off the labels and putting on new labels. The video there, if you can check it out. But yeah, but it is great though to see the club rugby back, and as I said, it's where it all begins, and where we can get to see some new up and coming stars, etc., etc. But what we'll do is we'll move on, and I will just go through what else has been happening around the world, and because it's big news, Malta are doing the business at the moment. Brad Thorne, I believe, is involved with Malta in some weird way, as a rugby consultant or something like that. But they got up over Andorra last weekend by 44-24. See, this is the only place you hear these results, right? Because people don't realise rugby is played around the world, because Austria defeated the Hungarians by a massive 86-7. And then in the other game played, Moldova, that stronghold, they beat Turkey by 17-7. And I look at those and I just love it, because it just goes to show how strong rugby is around the world. Because the thing is, what I have been doing also in the background is, I did mention about my online entertainment of World Fantasy Rugby. And I tell you, ChatGPT is just blowing my mind at the moment. At the moment, we've almost got a platform that when it's released, it puts the Sky Fantasy thing to bed. What we started 30 years ago, technology has finally caught up with us, and it's just going to be so interactive that anyone can play it, and it's going to be so easy to play. But the great thing is, you don't need a real game to play it like you do with all the fantasy stuff, right? And and the more and more I get into it, the better. We've even been able to now, when you do get to register your team, it's all working in conjunction now with emails and what do you call it? If you forget your password, it will send you everything. It is so. It's the vision I had 30 years ago that is finally coming to fruition. And I tell you, it will really blow people's minds, because I talk about it all the time and people just don't get it because they think, it's all But when you, if you're a rugby guru and you think you know everything about rugby, this will actually prove to yourself and to us how you would pick your team and run your team with a squad of 30 and win a championship. And because it is a real deal. And so still working on that. We're about probably maybe a week away with the progress we've been making on that. So just stay tuned. And also we're on TikTok, and someone did say to us about, how come you're posting everything other than New Zealand stuff? Well, we have updated our description. We are an unofficial page for the NPC and Club Rugby in New Zealand, but we also cover World Rugby. So that's why you get World Rugby stuff on that channel. And also don't forget, we are on YouTube. Shorts. I mean, one of the biggest viewers of shorts is when we've put your shorts up, young Mike. How do you feel about being an internet influencer? Some of the biggest numbers we've had is your girlfriends all checking you out on YouTube.
Yeah. I'd just rather stay out of the limelight, to be fair.
Yeah, I know. But tell you what, when Rody gets going, he really gets the views, because when he talks, actually people listen and they actually believe, understand what he's actually trying to get across. Because we spoke a couple of weeks ago about the scrums, and that just went mental because everyone agreed with what Rody had to say about the scrums. So that was awesome too. So, but otherwise, that's about us for today until we get all the team squads through on Wednesday afternoons for our show on Thursday. Any parting words?
No. Easter's over and done with for another year, so back to it, I guess.
Yeah, back to it. Another long week, and then we can have another short week next week with Anzac weekend, of course, with the Monday being a holiday because Anzac Day falls on the Saturday, so it rolls over to the following Monday. So that's another long weekend to look forward to in a couple of weeks. But until then, I'll get you to hang around for a minute, and we will say catch us all on Thursday. Catch you later. Bye.